Forget about playing for Sporting. He wants to go to Arsenal. He only wants to go to Arsenal. And so let's patiently wait, but with Arsenal.
But he has been treated unfairly by the club. There has been an agreement in place that's not being honoured. He's not being respected in the right way. He's had conversations with the president, with the owners, with people at the top of the tree, and he obviously feels that this is the action he needs to take to force through the move, to facilitate the venture to Arsenal, to also make quite clear his feelings on the situation. And you don't know how things will play out. Ultimately, it's a bit of a game of chess here, or a bit of a game of poker. You know, do you want to play hardball with the owners, the people that ultimately hold the cards, or do you want to go softly and just try and get things over the line? I can't help but feel this is a bit of a nasty situation that isn't ideal for anyone involved. And how it will end up, we don't quite know. You'd imagine it will be an Arsenal transfer, but there may be a few stumbling blocks in the road. And as Damesh so often says to me, you know, transfers are never that easy. You know, it's never straightforward. It's never simple. And this is one of those, it feels like it's going to get a little bit nasty between now and completion.
I got the impression, Damesh, that because Sporting gave Gyökeres allowed him to delay his return to training for pre-season, that they knew he was leaving and this was all on the cards. But I mean, now does the deal get done? Are they retracting that? Did they want him to stay?
It feels like the direction of travel is still that the deal is going to get done. But as Mark said there, it's a bit of a rocky road to get there, because it has been a little bit unsavoury in the last couple of months. It's got that way simply because, as Mark alluded to there, the feeling that Gyökeres might have had of a gentleman's agreement, shall we say, that if he stayed last season, then he could leave for a certain amount of money this time, which was believed to be a tad less than £60 million. Whereas when the Sporting president has been interviewed about it, he's been very, very pointed in saying he will not be leaving for that amount in this transfer window. So then you're thinking, did this gentleman's agreement exist? Is there anything such as a gentleman's agreement in today's football? Maybe yes, maybe no. But it still feels, because they gave him that extra time off, because he's still in that position where he doesn't really want to return, it can only really be resolved in one way, you would think, and that would be ending up that transfer to Arsenal. Arsenal will probably look at this and say, in one way, it's working in our favour because we want the player. Sporting probably don't want the player anymore, and Gyökeres wants to go to Arsenal. So when all those three elements come together, it usually ends up with one outcome and the player getting the move that he wants. But Sporting clearly will say yes at some point, but as much on their terms as they possibly can.
All these clubs just kind of posturing and sticking their chest out.
But it's millions of pounds at stake. And so many fans sit there on social media and say, just pay the extra 5 million, pay the extra 10 million. But ultimately, these clubs can't just keep doing that with every single deal. They have to be sensible, they have to be wise, they have to look at the finances, and obviously, you know, PSR is a huge factor in the game now. So it's quite flippant to say just give them the extra 5 million. But ultimately, these clubs have to run in the best way possible and be as sustainable as possible, and that means they have to watch the pennies.
Yeah, and for a player like Gyökeres that hit 54 goals in 52 competitions last season, you can understand why he's wanted. Are Arsenal the only ones that want him, though?
I mean, I don't know whether that matters now, because he's made it clear that the only club that he wants is Arsenal.
That's all he's got in his mind?
So that's all he's got in his mind now. I mean, Manchester United, there was a lot of interest earlier on in the window, but that was clear because of that link that Ruben Amorim has with Sporting. He played fantastic football under Ruben Amorim at Sporting as well. And there was talk of a couple of other clubs who were interested in Viktor Gyökeres, but it's emerged now that Arsenal seem to be the one club that are totally pursuing this deal, who've held talks with both the player and the club, and that the player, his mind is made up. He wants Arsenal.
So do Arsenal have the space then? I mean, because Sporting want more. Arsenal haven't paid it as of yet. Arsenal, do they have the ability to pay more when, as Mark says, every club is thinking about PSR?
It's a good question, actually. But if you go back 2 summers ago, Arsenal went pretty big in the transfer window, notably spending I think it was £105 million on Declan Rice. Last summer, I think they kept quite a watchful eye on their PSR. And if you look at their business last summer, their two big signings were Mikel Merino and Ricardo Calafiori. They came in for a combined £75 million. And those two players in themselves were £30 million less than what they paid for one player the previous summer in Declan Rice. But because they were a little bit more cautious in last summer's transfer window, it put them in a really good place with regard to PSR heading into this summer's transfer window. Clearly they aren't finished, because we know they still want to do Viktor Gyökeres. We know that Eberiche Eze is a prime target of theirs. Christian Mosquera, the centre defender from Valencia, they're trying to do a good deal with him as well. They feel they can get a good deal done there because he's only got a year left on his contract. I think Valencia want in the region of £25 million. Arsenal don't want to pay that much. Maybe they can meet in the middle and then Arsenal can get some money off there. So to do all of those three deals, as well as the Madueke deal, we're talking in excess of £150 to £200 million still.
And that's possible for Arsenal?
That Arsenal want to spend. It is possible, but Arsenal, other clubs in their position, will have to be creative as well in the transfer market. Not only with the players that they buy, because they will try and do it in such a way whereby, right, let's try and load some performance-related add-ons in this fee, or let's try and make this an instalment payment maybe over 4 years rather than 3 years. They just need to be a little bit more creative. But also, and they will be creative, by the way, but also it's from a financial and a squad perspective as well. Financially, clearly, for the reasons I've just said, but from the squad perspective, there are going to be players who are in that Arsenal squad at the moment who are seeing all of these players coming in and maybe in their positions and thinking, I'm not going to get the game time that I want. So there will likely be sales at Arsenal at some point in the summer transfer window as well.
So they recoup some of...
Noni Madueke. He has been given permission to leave Chelsea camp at the FIFA Club World Cup to pursue this deal with Arsenal. He's expected the UK to take a medical with Arsenal, and we should see a formal announcement, all being well, in the next few days or so.
Arsenal fans jumping with glee at this one, Mark?
I think this is a really exciting signing. 23 years old, offers that versatility that Mikel Arteta likes from every signing, someone that can play in multiple positions. Dharmesh mentioned earlier on that having someone who could play as a right winger, and Arsenal perhaps lacked that bite and that spark when Bukayo Saka was injured last season, and Noni Madueke will certainly bring that. Just the 2 starts in the Club World Cup for Chelsea maybe was a little indication that he wasn't a part of the furniture moving forward. And when you look at the fee as well, it's very much in keeping with the other players that have moved over the course of this summer. It's all around £50 million, isn't it? You know, João Pedro, 55 plus 5 from Brighton to Chelsea. Jamie Gittings around 50 million as well from Borussia Dortmund. Anthony Elanga, when that one gets confirmed, from Nottingham Forest.